This video is a fan-made recording of an unhappy New Republic soldier during the Yuuzhan Vong War. Story made by Koki Monster. Please enjoy.
I used to believe the galaxy had finally found its way when we brought the Empire to its knees. For years, I bled for the rebellion, fought in its ranks, and dreamed of the day when tyranny would fall and freedom would reign. The day we took down the Emperor, I felt invincible. We all did. The stars seemed brighter, the air sweeter, and the shadow that had hung over us for so long lifted. We had won. The people had won. I was once an Imperial soldier. That uniform, that chain of command, I followed it. I believed in the strength of order, of discipline. But the cruelty, the sheer soul-crushing oppression of the Empire was too much to bear. That's why I defected. That's why I joined the rebellion. I believed in something better. I fought for something better. And when the Empire fell, I thought we'd found it. But peace, it never truly came. After the fall of the Empire, the galaxy didn't unite. It fractured. The New Republic, gods, the New Republic. They argued over petty squabbles, territories, and demilitarization, as if the galaxy could stay peaceful by wishful thinking alone. They talked of reducing fleets, of peace treaties, of disarmament. I thought they were naive, deluded even, but I held on to hope. What other choice did we have? The Empire was gone. Surely the worst was behind us. Then the Yuuzhan Vong came. Nothing could have prepared us for them. They weren't from this galaxy, and they certainly weren't of it. From the outermost fringes, from beyond everything we knew, they descended. Their ships were living things, twisted organic monstrosities that defied every principle of our technology. Their weapons, gods, their weapons were horrors. They brought destruction like we had never seen, a devastation that made even the Empire's worst seem like a child's tantrum. The first reports were laughable, some new alien threat. Please, we had survived the Emperor, the Death Star. What could possibly be worse? But when the Vong started tearing through systems, destroying entire worlds, and turning vibrant cities into wastelands, the laughing stopped. And as the terror spread, as more planets fell, the New Republic sat there, paralyzed. They bickered in the Senate chambers, squabbling like children while the galaxy burned. They didn't see it, or maybe they didn't want to. They had their power now, their cushy political seats. Why would they care about the dangers lurking in the shadows? They were too busy bickering over territory and influence, too focused on consolidating their fragile grip on power to notice the dark storm brewing on the edge of the galaxy. The idealism that once inspired me, freedom, justice, had rotted into arrogance. They actually believed that by reducing our weapons, by dismantling our military, they could preserve peace. It infuriated me. We had fought so hard to defeat the Empire, and for what? So we could hand the galaxy over to a bunch of self-serving bureaucrats who couldn't see the threat staring them in the face. The Yuuzhan Vong swept through system after system, leaving nothing but devastation in their wake. And the New Republic's leaders were still sitting there, pointing fingers, arguing over whose territory to protect, whose planet deserved more resources, and who would get the glory for every little victory. They actually believed that diplomacy could still work. They still clung to the illusion that peace was an option, even as entire star systems burned. Our fleets were depleted, our leaders indecisive. I couldn't stand it. Every second wasted in those Senate halls meant more lives lost, more worlds wiped out by the Vong. They were too incompetent, too delusional to realize that their precious peace was never real to begin with. The demilitarization that was supposed to bring peace left us crippled in the face of this invasion. The more I watched, the more I started to think about the Empire. The Empire had known. The Empire wouldn't have let this happen. I didn't want to believe it at first. I fought the Empire, hated it. But piece by piece, I started putting it together. All those years of military buildup, the massive fleets, the Death Stars, they weren't just for show. They weren't just tools of oppression. The Empire was preparing for something. I can see it now. The Emperor had seen the threat coming from the farthest reaches of the galaxy. The Yuuzhan Vong were no surprise to him. Every weapon, every star destroyer, every military outpost, the Empire was gearing up for this war long before any of us knew it existed. It hit me like a blast to the chest. The Empire had been so ruthless because they were preparing for this. Emperor Palpatine had seen the bigger picture, preparing for an enemy we couldn't even imagine while we fought amongst ourselves. It wasn't just about controlling the galaxy, it was about protecting it from something far worse. We had thought the Emperor mad, a ruthless and tyrant. But he was getting ready for a war the galaxy wasn't ready for, a war we couldn't possibly comprehend. And now here we were, bickering fools in the New Republic, unprepared and weak in the face of the greatest threat the galaxy had ever known. I never thought I'd say this, but maybe the galaxy would have been better off if the Empire had still been in power when the Vong arrived. The Empire would have crushed the Vong before they even had a chance to set foot in our galaxy. They wouldn't have allowed them to push this far, to devastate so many worlds, to take so many lives. Number under the Empire, we would have met the Yuuzhan Vong head-on, with overwhelming force. There wouldn't have been any of this indecision, this hesitation. The Emperor would have mobilized the fleet before the Vong even knew what hit them. They never would have made it this far, never would have ravaged the galaxy the way they have. And it kills me to think of all the lives lost, because the New Republic was too blind, too incompetent to see the threat for what it was. They were too busy pretending that peace was the natural state of the galaxy, too naive to understand that peace is something you have to fight for, something you have to maintain with strength and vigilance. Instead, they let their guard down, and the galaxy paid the price. Every day I see the ruins of what once were vibrant worlds, the aftermath of cities torn apart by the Yuuzhan Vong, and I can't help but wonder, what if the Empire had still been in power? What if we hadn't torn it down before the Vong arrived? Would so many millions have died? Would entire worlds still be standing? The truth is hard to admit, but I can't deny it anymore. The Emperor and his empire was a monster, but he was also a visionary. He understood that the galaxy needed to be strong to survive, that we needed to be ready for threats beyond our understanding. Looking back, I see it now. The Emperor wasn't just a tyrant, he was a genius. A twisted, ruthless genius, yes, but a genius nonetheless. He saw the storm coming from beyond the stars, and he tried to prepare for it in the only way he knew how. We overthrew him, thinking we were ushering in an era of peace, but all we did was leave ourselves vulnerable to a threat we couldn't possibly have understood. And now I'm stuck here, fighting alongside leaders who bicker while the Yuuzhan Vong slaughter everything in their path. Maybe the Empire wasn't the right answer, but this New Republic. No, they weren't ready. They were never ready. And because of their incompetence, the galaxy is drowning in blood. Maybe, just maybe, the Empire was our best chance after all.